The follow-up is simple. Ask a question, listen to the answer, then follow up. I'm your host, Noah Kozlov. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Follow-Up Podcast. I'm Noah. This is my 6-year-old first grade daughter, Eden. The Follow-Up started as a podcast where I would speak to my friends for about 10-15 minutes from all walks of life, just to prove that you could have a thoughtful, entertaining conversation in a short period of time just by simply listening to the answers of what the guest is saying. So during the period of isolation, Eden asked me if she could become the co-host. Of course. So you can still listen to all these episodes on Apple Podcasts, but now with Eden, they're on video, so we suggest you go to vocalnow.com, VOKALnow.com, and watch this episode and all previous episodes. Every Monday is a new episode, and it is always Eden's topic of choice. And today we have
appreciation. So, and we talked about this on our sleepover last weekend.
So last weekend was Eden's birthday weekend, or we kind of celebrated for a long time. And one of the things she wanted to do was sleep on the pull-out couch in the living room, which pulls out into the bed. So the two of us had a sleepover.
Okay.
What?
Since today is Saturday, I just remembered that Mom said I can sleep on the blow-up bed tonight. Right here. Yes!
All right, well, after we record this, then
That's what we're doing.
We're going to have to talk to Mom about that.
Well, she said that on Wednesday. I asked her on Monday.
Okay.
She said yes. So now I just remembered.
All right. So we had a good time. We had a good time with our sleepover. That's the first time the two of us had ever slept in the same bed before.
Yeah.
You've always, as soon as we brought you home from the hospital, you were in the crib, in your room. You never slept in our bed before. That was the first time we ever shared a bed together. It was fun. And
that was the first time I ever was in the same room as it was sleeping.
Right. And you've had sleepovers before at friends' houses, and friends have slept here, but first time that we'd ever slept in a bed together. And what I think the most fun part was that we were up until about 9:30, and for 30 minutes, we just started talking. And one of the things you mentioned, how we got on the topic of appreciation, was all the flowers that you're seeing now. You appreciate all the work that goes into them after all the gardening you did with your grandparents over the summer. And
how it came up, I think what we were doing was we were talking about art in school. So we have art, and one of the, what makes you, calm. So I wrote, what makes you, draw a picture of something you like. But they also said, how do you want to feel in art? You want to feel excited, but you also want to feel calm. Just you don't want to be too bouncing around. You want to take your time and feel calm. Mm-hmm. So I also like to feel calm because it just makes me calm thinking about the flowers, because they're pretty to look at, and it's not like they're noisy and stuff.
Right.
It's
And that maybe before this summer you wouldn't have thought about all the work and all the different varieties of flowers, but now that you've learned a lot about it and worked and saw what Grandma and Grandpa do, and that what you're doing with weeding and watering and doing different things to the soil.
And getting figs off a fig tree.
Right, and seeing how long it takes to get those figs off the fig tree, which also leads you to think about where you get your food.
Right. So, a lot of things that grow, tomatoes, all herbs, they all grow from the garden. So, but it takes a lot of work to get them, because it takes so much work to plant the seeds, to water them, to make sure they stay alive, and to make sure that the plants are healthy.
Mm-hmm. So that when you're eating, then you're thinking, wow, I never really thought about it before, that how hard people worked to be able to plant and grow this, and be diligent enough to be looking at it all the time and making sure that it's just right before we eat it.
Right. Even when I'm eating my own stuff that I grew.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew my own mushrooms.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which Mom thought looked like a monster.
And they were pretty funny, those oyster mushrooms.
Yeah.
But it gives you a certain sense of, not something we talked about before, but I think it gives you a certain sense of pride knowing that you accomplish this so that, and then you put the food on your own table. But also, I thought it was just so mature that, and it's not something I ever would have thought of at your age, of being able to appreciate where things come from.
Yeah.
So just before we were talking about, and I'd like you to relay this conversation, you just brought up the June Fete, which is a...
No, I do not.
You don't want to talk about
No.
that?
I do.
Okay. So we won't talk about that. But also, not just the appreciation for where your food comes from or how flowers grow, but for...
For everything.
Yeah, for learning.
Learning. How much it takes our teachers to learn the stuff to teach you this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To teach me this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And how hard mom works.
Right.
And...
You work.
Sure, to be able to make sure that you have what you need in order to grow.
Right.
You know, what do you think made you start to really go down this path, thinking about it, not just in our class, but about being calm, but about the whole appreciation thing?
Well, since the summer, probably, once I just, well, we've talked about it, I think, once or twice or something.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't talked it about, you haven't said it's, appreciating things. It's, you haven't explained it as,
Exactly, as appreciation, right.
But, now that I understand you better, or I should say better.
Better, yeah.
Now I'm, now I think about it, and now I get it.
Yeah, the things, I think something that Grandma and Grandpa taught me as a kid, and something we've tried to teach you also, is there's certain things that you need that you will have.
And then there's certain things that you want that you might not get.
Yes, and things that you might need to save your money for, or work for to earn some money in order to get it, and start to understand that the difference between need and want. And that saying I got so tired of as a kid, but I understood it as a kid, but I really understand it now, even more so as a parent, and passing it on to you, that you're not always going to get everything you want. You'll have what you need, but then when there are other opportunities to earn certain things that you want, and then I think it would make you appreciate what you got even more. Do you think?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anything you can think of? Anything that you can think of that maybe you wanted, and then we talked about it and said, I don't really, no, not really necessary. Maybe like an extra Barbie. Do you really, sure, you want it, but if I showed you, okay, so that Barbie would cost this, with that money, we could get this, which might be something that would be more useful, or you could really need, then you might understand.
Want.
You might understand that that's the way to go.
Want or need. Want or need.
Mm-hmm.
Want or need. Two different. If you take it for example, in a word problem. If you take two people, it's take two sections that are totally different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Take a line, write two sections, and then write down all the things in each section, and see, do I really want this, and how much does it cost, and do I really need this, and does it, right, but with the things you want, see how much it costs, and see, is this useful, will I use this a lot?
Right, or is it just going to be something that you use once and that'll be it? Right. How happy does something make you? Right. And I think, say, going back to the flowers and the food, just having, so in your room right now, Grandma, last time they came to visit, they brought you the dahlias that we planted. And if you want to go back and watch the episode on gardening, you can see those dahlias being planted. So those aren't just any flowers. You know how much work went into those dahlias.
Right. You had to dig those holes, you had to get them out of the basement, you had to water them 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
4 months, make sure they're moist, and just make sure that we're all covered up and make sure the roots are healthy.
Right, and going all the way back to when Grandma and Grandpa dug them up, and
they already?
No, last year, and took care of them enough to put them in the basement, cover them with newspaper, and then they asked us to make sure the soil stayed moist, and then gave us the instructions on how to put them in. So now when you see those flowers, you have flowers in your room a lot, but when you see those flowers, it makes you appreciate those even more, but then also just any other flowers that you might have in your room. And the plant that you have in your room. Come on. Coleus, yeah. Because you help plant the coleus over the summer. Yeah. All right, well, I thought that the fact that you brought up the calmness and the appreciation of things, I was really, really proud of you.